Do you want me to read it?
Depends on how long I want to stand down there. You ready? Good evening. I would like to call to order the council meeting for Monday, July 29th. And if the clerk could please call the roll.
Councilmember Dunbar. Councilmember Garza. Councilmember Hussein. Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Spitzley. Councilmember Washington. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
There are 7 members present at quorum. Councilmember Dunbar is absent.
Yes, she does have an excused absence that we'll take up at the appropriate time. This is now the time for meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. I would like us, if we could remember Judy Brown Clark in our prayers and thoughts tonight. Judy lost her mother on Saturday and her father this morning. So both had been in hospice, and so if we could remember that family as they're going through these extremely difficult times. It's difficult even if you're expecting it, but to lose them so close together is really difficult. So if we could remember them. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have for your approval the printed council proceedings of July 22nd.
Vice President Spatafor.
Madam President, I move the approval of the printed council proceedings from July 22nd, 2019.
We have a motion. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And we are to special ceremonies. We have a tribute in recognition of Lansing Police Chief Mike Yankowski upon his retirement.
And if the chief could come on down. You beat me out of here. We've been here for a long time.
Yes, we have. 25 years.
I know. It is a sad evening, and a happy one for you, for your family, and the next journey that you have to go on. But for council and the community, we appreciate your dedication, your commitment to the city of Lansing, and all the things that you have accomplished to make this city a better place. And so this evening, we have a proclamation, which we're going to have the clerk read and present to you. So if the clerk could please read that.
Resolved by the City Council of the City of Lansing, whereas Michael A. Yankowski was sworn in as a City of Lansing police officer in 1994 and within 3 years in 1997 became the LPD canine handler, and in 2001 was promoted to sergeant. During that time, he served for 4 years as the canine unit supervisor before accomplishing his next promotion to lieutenant in 2007, first with road patrol and then in internal affairs. In 2010, Michael A. Yankowski then achieved the promotion of police captain, where he served for 3 years in the patrol division before being appointed by the Lansing Police Commission to the City of Lansing Police Chief in 2013. And whereas Michael A. Yankowski in 1994 graduated from Ferris State University with a Bachelor of Science degree, criminal justice, and furthered his education in 2010 by attending and receiving certification from the Michigan State School of Criminal Justice Staff and Command. And whereas while serving the city of Lansing, Michael A. Yankowski implemented the Real-Time Crime Center, deployed crime fighting solution software, NC4 Street Smart, established a training unit and increased training by 200%, along with developing a new higher cultural competency training program. In addition, he created the Gang Resistance Education and Training, GREAT, implemented body-worn camera programs, and established a crisis intervention training program. And whereas through community engagement, Michael A. Yankowski instituted the Citizen Police Academy, developed an officer wellness program, established a community services unit that focused on community policing and community engagement, and created a youth public safety leadership program. And whereas through policing strategy, he adopted a nationally recognized best practices regional violent crime initiative, assisted in the hiring and embedding of the LPD police social worker, played an integral role in the creation of the Metro Lansing Advocates and Leaders for Police and Community Trust, ALPACT, and developed a nationally recognized recruiting and hiring strategy. And whereas Michael A. Yankowski, in addition to implementing and arresting best practices for the Lansing Police Department, also played key roles on multiple organizations and boards, including the International Association of Chiefs of Police, Tri-County Metro Board, MCOL's Recruiting Task Force, WAIAM, Inc., Rise Recovery Community, Partners in Crisis, Lansing Safety Council, Mid-Michigan Police Academy Advisory Board, Advocates and Leaders for Police and Community Trust, YMCA, and the Lansing Catholic Diocese Task Force on Race Relations in Catholic Schools. Therefore, be it resolved that the Lansing City Council extends our gratitude and appreciation for the many years of dedication and impressive achievements. The City Council acknowledges Michael Yankowski for his exemplified character traits of devotion to duty, brotherly love for his fellow officers, sincerity of purpose, and genuine concern for all citizens in the city of Lansing. We wish him well in the next chapter of his life.
And I would move that.
The resolution has been moved by President Wood. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Chief.
Sure, I will. So, thank you, Madam President and members of City Council and the community of Lansing. You know, it seems like yesterday for me when I got sworn in as a Lansing police officer. And I can tell you back then, we actually did visit the city clerk's office at that point. Chris, you were not there at that time, but I remember it like it's yesterday. And, you know, what an important role this badge and the responsibility that it carries. I've been very blessed here in the city of Lansing. I've had a wonderful family, Lansing community family, and you know, an officer once said that, you know, being a Lansing police officer, we have three families. We have a blood family, we have our LPD family, and we have our Lansing community family. And at the end of the day, guess which one of those families suffer the most? It's our blood family, because of the dedication that it takes to be a first responder. And I'm no different. We are blessed. We have some amazing police officers that dedicate their time to keep this community safe. And, you know, throughout my career, I've always lived a life of service and sacrifice while staying true to my core values of integrity, compassion, and courage. And I've just been blessed over my years throughout all my ranks, and never thought in a million years that I would be a police chief. But here, 6.5 years later, I'm standing at the doorsteps of reintroducing myself back to the family. And I can't thank, members of the community, city council, our mayors over the years that have supported not only, Mike Yankowski, but also the Lansing Police Department. But this isn't, a job that you do on your own. This is a team effort. These accomplishments, that we read here, we were going through them. There's 101 that I think we put down on paper, but the men and women of the organization is what gets this stuff done. And I couldn't be more proud of the work that they do. I've just been completely honored and humbled to be called the capital city's finest, and I couldn't think of a better profession than to be a police officer and then to be a police officer in the city of Lansing. So thank you for all your support through the years. I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done, not only for the Lansing Police Department, but for my family and I. So thank you.
I forgot to take my tissue down.
We are to comments by the council members and the city clerk.
Councilmember comments. Councilmember Washington, Councilmember Garza, Councilmember Hussein.
Thank you, Madam President. This is just a reminder that we will be having our first contact constituent gathering this Saturday at the BWL Depot on South Washington. It's just north of the railroad tracks, north of Mount Hope. It's from 10 a.m. until noon, but if you can't get there at 10, come anyway. If you can't stay until noon, come anyway. If you need to bring your children, bring them. We have a lot to discuss this time, but it's pretty informal, so I hope to see you. Thanks.
Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to give a reminder, the second ward constituent contact meeting will be August 10th. I unfortunately will not be there, and Council President Carol Wood is going to fill in for me. It's at 1435 East Miller Road. That's at Fire Station 44, and it's from 1 to 3 p.m. So it's Saturday, August 10th from 1 to 3 p.m., and there will be food and refreshments available. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hussein, then Councilmember or Vice President Spatafor.
Sure. I want to remind folks of the Third Ward Constituent Contact Meeting, which will be next Saturday. This is at Fire Station 6 from 10 to 12 noon. Fire Station 6 is on the southeast corner of the Pleasant Grove and Jolly intersection. All are welcome. Outside of that, I'd also like to thank folks for coming out this past Sunday. The conditions were sweltering. And this was for the community cleanup at Pleasant Grove and Homes. There was a need that was identified maybe midweek last week. And so we put out kind of a social media blast on Thursday. We did an email request for participation on Thursday, and we had between 25 and 30 people show up. And it was amazing what kind of work can be done when people roll up their sleeves, they commit to some common purpose and just get things done. So it looks fantastic over there. We appreciate everybody that was there. We had folks from the Colonial Village Neighborhood Association, the Friends of Ingham Park, Luton Rich, Averill Woods. We had people from Colonial Cooperative, Leno, the entire Capital City Old School group was out to help. And so I just wanted to let people know that we truly, truly appreciate your efforts on Sunday. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Spatafor.
Thank you, Madam President. And a lot of my sentiments were obviously expressed in the resolution that we just passed, and the chief's left. But I wanted to at least go on the record and say that I really have appreciated his years of service. I have not known him as long as some people around this table, but in the few years that I've had the opportunity to know Chief Yankowski, he's impressed me as a very professional, very personable, very engaged individual who truly cares about this community, taking issues head on and not shirking responsibility when we see some that might want, have that urge. He's got big shoes to fill, and to that end, I want to just make sure that everyone in the community knows there are 4 events where you can meet the new chief, Chief Green. They are from 6 to 8 p.m. on the following days: August 13th at Cristo Way Community Center, August 15th at St. Michael's Episcopal Church, August 21st at the Elfrieda Schmidt Community Center, and August 22nd at the Neighborhood Empowerment Center. Again, those are all from 6 to 8, and you can meet Chief Green. There's also going to be bounce houses and ice cream. So
Okay, thank you. Are there any other council comments? Councilmember Washington.
Just to piggyback on that, Councilmember Spatafor, if you're not able to meet, to get to any of those meetings, he will be here for Committee of the Whole next Monday night. Committee of the Whole starts at 6 p.m. If you can't,
5:30.
5:30 p.m., I'm sorry. And you can watch it on TV. He'll be discussing his vision for the future of the LPD.
Thank you. Are there other council comments? I just want to echo, I think, all of our sentiments with the chief, and for somebody who has been here, I was here as he came on as an officer, not as a council member, but as part of the community, and so watched his career over the last 25 years, and as was said, there are some big shoes to fill, but I think we have an excellent candidate that's coming up, and Captain, Chief, whatever we call him during this interim period right now, interim chief, Green will be excellent in that position. So everyone who gets an opportunity to come out and see him, it's important to do so. With that,
Thank you. I do have a few announcements. First off, I want to thank Nathan Kelps, who has been with us for these
Yes.
past several months as an intern helping out with the council meetings. Tonight will be his last council meeting as he's
Oh.
moving on to other things and moving away from the area, so he will be missed. He's been a great asset to our office. Thank you, Nathan. As to the election coming up, just a week from tomorrow, next Tuesday is Election Day. The polls are open from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. There are still opportunities to get an absentee ballot. We need a signed application to issue a ballot, and we can mail them up until 5 o'clock this Friday, or you can come in person to either our location at City Hall or at 2500 South Washington. You can also pick one up in person. We will be open Saturday and Sunday at 2500 South Washington. On Saturday, it will be from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. On Sunday, it will be from noon until 4. So lots of opportunities there. And then both locations, again, will be open on Monday to issue ballots until 4 o'clock p.m. If you've already been issued a ballot, we have to have it back by 8 o'clock election night. Postmark isn't good enough, so I do recommend you get it in the mail pretty quickly or consider using one of our 24-hour drop boxes. Also, there are still opportunities to register to vote. If you need to register or update your address, you can come to one of those two locations during the times that we're open, up through and including 8 o'clock election day. We now have no deadline for voter registration if you come in person during the last 2 weeks to the clerk's office. If you are coming to register at that anytime in the last 2 weeks up through election day, you need to bring proof of residency, which could be utility bill, a copy of your lease, anything that's in your name with your address in the city, as well as photo ID to verify your identity. So those are required if you're registering in the last 2 weeks and including on election day. So still plenty of opportunity to get involved in this important city primary election where we are narrowing the field of candidates for the 2 city council at large seats that are up this year, as well as the first ward city council position. The 3rd ward is also up this year, but it will not be on the primary ballot since there is only one candidate that will just move on to the November election. And then I also do want to take just a moment and echo my appreciation for Chief Yankowski and the work that he's done over the years. And really feels like, I administer the oath of office to all the police officers. And to hear him talk to the new officers and that message about the police department being part of their family, he says that to every new group of officers, and I think that's really important, and I really appreciate all the work that he's done over the years. And with with that, we are to community event announcements. If there's anyone in the audience with a community event, you have 1 minute to tell us. Community event, go ahead, jump right up.
Evening, everybody. An event next week to correct 2016 disaster when nobody showed up to the voting booths and we got what we got. 2018, we did a whole bunch better, but next week on Tuesday, and I'll repeat everything City Clerk Swope said, is an election. You are to be there. Or maybe you just want to leave the country. Vote, people. We must vote. We screwed it up on 2016. Show up. That's the event. Next Tuesday, all day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other community events? All right. We are to speaker registration for public comment. If you want to speak legislative matters, includes the 3 public hearings, the consent agenda, and resolutions for action. And that sign-up sheet is being picked up. If you want to speak, you need to jump up right now. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
Samantha.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a couple of other events that haven't been mentioned. Concerts in the Park continue this week, Wednesday at the Fenner Nature Center with the Joe Wright Experience. Deadline for Citizens Academy applications are this Thursday, August 1st. And then don't forget, after you vote next Tuesday, the National Night Out neighborhood events are next Tuesday evening. And Councilman Spatafor stole my thunder about the events for Captain soon-to-be Chief Green, but I will say I was teasing him this morning in cabinet that the flyer says free bounce house, then free ice cream, then meet the chief. So he's like third billing in the level of importance. But having a 4-year-old, I know that we will certainly be there for the free bounce houses and also to meet our wonderful new chief. So thank you.
Thank you. With that,
Okay, we are to show cause hearings. We have one show cause hearing tonight in consideration of orders to make safe or demolish 5624 Joshua.
and there's no one that came for
There
that,
is no
correct?
one that signed in.
Okay. With that, that will be referred back to the Public Safety Committee, but I will have Councilmember Spitzley read into the record the information about this public hearing.
Thank you, Madam President. So this is a public hearing for Make Safe or Demolish 5624 Joshua. The SEV value of the home is $29,300, but the estimate of repairs is $120,960. As of 7/29/19, I'm sorry. As of today, from what I understand, there have been no permits pulled. There is a expired roof permit. On April 25th, 2019, it was ruled unsafe and referred for 60-day make safe or demolish. And so that's what the public hearing is for today. It is a land contract, so it is not it's on a land contract right now. They own approximately $1,844 in back taxes. That?
With that, again, that will go back to the Public Safety Committee, and they will be taking this up at the August 1st meeting.
Okay, we're to public comment on legislative matters, and as I indicated, that includes the consent agenda and resolutions for action, as well as the public hearings that I'll read into the record. Z3, 2019, 835 West Genesee Street, rezoning from C Residential District to DM1 Residential District. SLU 2, 2019, a special land use permit for a neighborhood community center in the DM1 Residential District for 835 West Genesee Street. And number 3, Z4 2019 213 West Malcolm X Street, rezoning from C Residential District to F Commercial District.
Councilmember Hussein.
Sure. So items 1 and 2 are connected, and they involve the same applicant. We're fortunate enough to have Mr. Michael Markey with us tonight. So, Mike, if you want to come on down to the well. And as he is coming down, I'll just give you a little bit of history, and then we'll have him expand a little bit on the reason for the request. In any event, this is an application, again, by Mike Markey for 835 Genesee LLC. This is a rezone request from C residential to DM1 residential. C residential is two-family dwellings, duplexes. Single-family dwellings are allowed under that particular zoning category. DM1 residential is the lowest density of multifamily that we have in terms of our zoning code. With that being said, this is a 1910 build. This is the old Genesee Street School. It's been vacant for a number of years at this point. There was a gymnasium that was built as part of that facility back in the 1960s. So item number 2 does deal with that. This, in terms of, and we always talk about surrounding land use and zoning because we absolutely have to consider that when we look at a rezone request. To the north, to the east, to the south, to the west, in terms of surrounding land use, you have single and two-family residential. And then zoning, you have C residential, which is, again, that two-family dwelling residential zoning. The master plan calls for medium to low-density residential use. Our assistant planning manager, as well as our zoning administrator, Susan Statuick, have recommended to this body approval. They have a few concerns pertaining to the number of apartments that Mr. Michael Markey is proposing. They'd like to see maybe a mix of, when we talk about 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and maybe not up to the 36 studio apartments that are being proposed. The planning board took a look at this on June 4th. They did support. They also supported the SLU request, and that would be to allow for community use of the gymnasium. So at this point, Mike, we'd just like you to expand a little bit, again, on the reason for the request, and then obviously we'd entertain questions from the body. Thanks.
And if you can make sure that the green light is on so that everyone can hear you. All right, thank you. I don't think it's on. I don't think it's on. I don't think your green light is on. Push the,
Oh,
there we go, okay.
is that better?
That's much better.
Okay, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
A very exciting project for us. Bottom line, it's the old school at Genesee Street, 835 Genesee. It sits on just a little over 2-acre parcel, and the square footage per floor is just about 8,500 square feet per floor. At the end of the day, we haven't really figured out our bedroom count of what we can fit in there. Best case scenario is 36 efficiency units. It could be, it's going to be a lot less as we continue to do our floor plans. It's a matter to repurpose a school building. We don't plan on doing any exterior renovations other than reopening up to the grand facade of the front entryway. That is beautiful. We've got a beautiful 4-foot stairways going up and down, 4-foot hallways. We don't have in mind changing anything on the exterior nor adding to the footprint. It's been a little confusing of what to do with that gymnasium that was built on in the 60s that really, the architect that got paid to do that should be shot. It adds nothing to the structure. And we would like to repurpose that for the neighborhood to utilize. We don't have in mind any living units into that gymnasium. We would like to repurpose it for the neighborhood. We have reached out to the neighborhood and have reached an agreement to our far eastern property line to reestablish the neighborhood garden there. But all we're asking to do is, simply put, in this zoning classification of C2, that even as a 2-bedroom units, would require 3,000 square feet of floor area that the surrounding neighborhood has not got. At best, they're 4,000 square foot lots with two families. So we're not asking to increase the density compared to what's already there. I also, please note that to the south and to the west, excuse me, I got confused. To the east and to the south is DM3 and DM4 density zoning surrounding this property. So we're not asking for anything more than what's not already in the neighborhood. Two, we've already got enough parking on site for over 50 parking spaces. So we're not looking to increase the footprint for anything compared to just taking care of what's there.
Okay. Councilmember Garza has a question, and Councilmember Washington. Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Madam President. Do you plan on making this low-income housing?
Income viability has nothing to do with zoning. But to clarify your answer, no.
Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to ask, I read the packet, and I understand where Ms. Stachwood said that it would be in keeping with what is in the surrounding area, excuse me, but that it is indicated that they would like to see less than 36. I'm not saying I have a problem with this zoning, because I don't. I just had a couple questions. One was, I was going to ask what your price point was, or if you're planning on doing a mix of price points, and I understand that doesn't have to do with zoning, but I was just kind of wondering what your goal was. And did your market study show that there's a need for this type of housing in that area?
To answer your question, as far as price point, no matter what I tell you, you're either going to say it's too high or too low. So that's a no-moment question. Number
Fair
two.
enough. You don't have to answer that, because you're right, it's not with zoning, it's just, I was just wondering.
But number two, your second question, as I heard it, was, have you done a market study to support this style of housing? And
In that area.
That is, and that is correct. There is a demand for the newer housing that is modern in this area of town. Okay? We've got a dilapidated building across the street, a 4-unit, that has been sitting there for 10 years, that ain't moved.
Okay.
Okay?
And have you engaged the neighborhood with your plans for this building?
We've attempted to reach out to the neighborhood and communicate with them, and as we speak, we've got a neighborhood organization that wants to rent our eastern 100 feet for a garden.
Okay. And my last question is for my colleague, Councilman Jackson. Has anybody reached out to you and helped you to engage in this? Because ultimately, this is in your ward. So they have. Okay, thank you.
As a member of that community, there was a presentation done before the neighborhood, and there were several questions that were answered at that point with the neighborhood. So, are there any other questions? Seeing none, Councilmember Hussein.
Appreciate you being here. We really do. I would like to now invite Mr. Joseph Vitale down to the well. We're fortunate enough to have the applicant.
Thank you.
Oh, do you have something else to say? Sorry.
What date will this be back
This
before
is
your
back
committee?
for Development and Planning, August 12th. Correct?
Yes, that's
Yes,
when your
that
next
is-
meeting.
I just got to organize my beach time.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go ahead and invite Joseph Vitale down. We appreciate him being here as well. He is the applicant for item number 3. This is in consideration of a rezone request from C Residential District to F Commercial District. This deals with the property at 213 West Malcolm X Street. This is the Cooley Hayes house. Back in 2017, the electorate did vote to allow for the sale of this property with a restrictive covenant to preserve the historical character of the building. The administration put out an RFP in 2018. They did receive 2 proposals. One was from an individual who wanted to make this their personal residence. I think the purchase offer was $10,000. Mr. Joseph Vitale put a proposal together offering $20,000, and again wanted the commercial aspect and wanted to essentially turn this into a store that sells salvage building materials and things of that nature. We did approve that proposal in October of last year. We knew that the sale would be contingent on successful rezoning to allow for the commercial aspect. And so there was some conversation, development, and planning in terms of why did it take so long to get to this point. We also talked a little bit about the educational component, that kind of phase 2 component. I think that really excited this body when we first started to kind of broach this issue and investigate it a little bit further. So we had those conversations. In any event, what I'd like you to do is just talk a little bit about where you guys are at, again, why it took so long to get to this point, and then maybe that phase 2 piece as well. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm learning how the city process works, which is a slower process than what I may be used to in normal real estate dealings, but nonetheless.
I'm going to ask you, sir, to pull the mic a little bit closer to you. You can move that mic around.
Okay, so this would be my opportunity to not replay that statement. It's taken a little bit longer because there's been multiple steps along the way that had to follow a specific process. So first, we had to put together a purchase agreement that was agreeable to both the city and myself. That took a little bit longer than I think anybody anticipated, and once that was executed, the process actually has moved pretty quickly within the last 60, 75 days. So the first was to go to the rezoning board, and that was approved unanimously. We were just at the planning and zoning meeting, which it was also approved unanimously. So essentially, the zoning that is on the property right now does not really truly allow for what I want to do with the property, and that is turn it into a retail space and also an educational space. So the current zoning would not really allow for retail outside of maybe a special use, and the thought behind this was to create the appropriate zoning so that it could go on for a very long period of time. So it will be revitalized once we're able to close and taken back to historic preservation standards. So wood will be replaced with wood siding will be replaced with wood siding. It will be painted with time period colors. The porte-cochere will be put back in, and it will house materials that have been taken from properties that have been demolished in the city of Lansing. So in addition to a retail space, there will also be an educational space, and in that space we will do things like teach people how to reglaze old windows and how to rebuild screens and how to match trim and how to miter trim and how to stain trim to match what's in their house. So I think it's going to be a much needed service that's not really available in the Tri-County area, and certainly great opportunities for community building, networking, and lots of different partner involvement.
Okay. Are there any questions? Councilmember Hussein.
And I should have stated this. So Susan Stachwick, our zoning administrator, is obviously recommending approval. The planning board did support this unanimously. There were some concerns over parking. Do you want to speak about that very quickly and how those concerns were assuaged?
So the retail center will have limited hours. It'll probably be an evening during the week, a full day during the week, and then a weekend. So we're looking at 3 days. There is a really large circle drive in the front, which will be great for loading and unloading, and even allow for parking. And then in the back, we'll accommodate any parking for anybody who would be working there, and potentially, drop-offs, that sort of thing. There is also a new parking lot that's been installed next door with the park. So I would think that on the occasion that we ever had a need for spillover, Ms. Stachwick didn't believe that those spots would be fully utilized at any given time. So.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none. All right, we want to thank you for coming down and answering questions this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, we have Mary Reynolds. Signed up to speak on legislative matters. Okay, then we are to the consent agenda, the referral of the public hearings, number 1Z3, 2019.
And that will go back to Development and Planning Committee.
Number 2, SLU 2, 2019.
That too will go back to Development and Planning Committee,
And number 3, Z4, 2019.
and that will go back to Development and Planning Committee.
Okay, now we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Spatafor.
Item 1 has been dispensed with during the special ceremony, and I would like to pull items 2 and 3A and B, noting that item 3C has been pulled from the agenda.
All right, thank you.
Then we are to the Committee on Ways and Means.
And that would be Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is the application for fiscal year 2019-2020, State of Michigan Office of Community Corrections Funding and Plan. This is an annual grant, and this year it's for the amount of $291,562. It is the State Community Corrections Advisory Board, the Ingham County Board of Commissioners, and the City of Lansing approved the original Ingham County City of Lansing Community Corrections Comprehensive Plan in 1991. This application provides for programming that includes relapse prevention and recovery, gatekeeper services, domestic violence intervention groups, tri-county community adjudication programs, and day reporting services. And so with that, I move the resolution.
We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Councilmember Spitzley, the only question I would have is is there any increase in this year's grant, or is it the same as last year's?
I don't think that, I think it's similar to this year. I don't think she mentioned that there was an increase.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
We are to the Committee of the Whole.
Vice President Spatafor.
Madam President, the first resolution is an amendment to Resolution 2018-303, which is the 2019 City Council meeting calendar. We talked last week at Committee of the Whole about this resolution to adjust the schedule so that the meetings were a little bit more evenly distributed through November and December, allowing us a later meeting in December should business arise, and also clearing out the week of Thanksgiving. So we are canceling, just one moment. We're removing the scheduled meeting from November 25th and December 9th, and scheduling meetings for December 2nd and December 16th to replace those.
All right.
I move the resolution.
Have a motion on the table. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. We'll make sure that that schedule, again, this not until November, but we'll make sure that that is up and available for people to make sure their schedules are concurrent with that. Vice President Spatafor.
Yes, I'd like to move the resolution memorializing the Michigan legislature to reduce the number of days in which fireworks are allowed. Currently, the law allows quite a few days, 3 days of fireworks for Memorial Day, up to 8 days of fireworks around July 4th, and 3 days for Labor Day. The resolution would urge the legislature and the governor to consider altering Michigan's law around fireworks, MCL 28.451, to only allow fireworks on the day before and the day of the listed holidays. In the resolution, there is a statement to forward along a letter of support that Mayor Shore has committed to write to the state legislature and the governor's office. This is in response to a number of neighbor complaints, personal complaints, and Facebook messages, and so on and so forth. So,
We have a motion. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
And we are to the Committee on Ways and Means for 6 vote items.
And Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is a 2018 Notice of Funding Availability. And this is, the grant name specifically is the 2018 HUD Continuum of Care Competitive Grant for Housing and Service Programs for the Department of Human Relations and Community Services. It is a grant amount in $2,551,300. $2,551,300 $336. City match for the grant is $28,237. What this grant does is it helps the city to end homelessness and provide critical care, needed support to local programs. And so we're kind of we're the repository of a lot of that money, and then we dole out the funding to a number of organizations in the city of Lansing. And with that, I move the resolution for grant acceptance.
We have a motion for the grant acceptance. Do we have any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is a grant acceptance from the Fratcher Foundation Perpetual Grant. This is a grant that is a dollar amount in a foundation that was left to us from, and I'm sorry, his first name escapes me, but the purpose of the dollars is for the Mount Hope Cemetery and for perpetual care of the Mount Hope Cemetery. And so every year, this foundation kind of works with the Parks Department to assess the particular needs, and then provides kind of it's like an endowment. It's not really a grant, it's like an endowment. This year, the fund amount is for $54,528.50. The bulk of that is for new
Columbarium.
Yes, columbariums for I'm sorry, I'm having issues saying, for cremations. And so approximately $48,000 of that will be for new columbariums. It's a two-step process, and this is phase one. And then the total amount for the new columbariums is approximately $90,000. And so this year, $45,000 will go for the initial construction. The rest of the dollars will be for maintenance and staff. And with that, I'll move the resolution. Oh, I'm sorry, Charles W. Fratcher. And it's an irrevocable trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President Spatafor.
Thank you, Madam President. I personally would just like to thank the Charles Fratcher family for the contribution, but also teaching me the word columbarium.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. That's the yellow sheet in the back. If you wish to speak, you need to sign in. You need to jump up right away and grab Nathan and sign in the back. If you want to speak, you need to sign in, yes, in the back. No, if you need to sign in on the yellow sheet in the back.
I've done that.
Okay.
Good evening,
Then you
Council.
can have a seat.
Okay.
And we'll call you. Thank you. Okay.
We're just about there, not
All right.
quite.
We are to reports of city officers, boards, and commissions.
Vice President Spatafor.
Madam President, I move that all items be considered as being read in full and proper referrals be made by you.
Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Mr. Clerk.
Okay, we have letters from the city clerk regarding an application to transfer stock interest to new and existing stakeholders in MASH Mavericks.
That goes to General Services.
And Department of Neighborhoods and Citizens Engagement Annual Report.
Placed on file.
Letters from the mayor regarding City of Lansing Defined Contribution Plan Amendment.
That goes to Committee of a Whole and the Internal Auditor.
Intent to create North Grand River Avenue Corridor Improvement Authority.
Development and Planning Committee.
Intent to create South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard Corridor Improvement Authority.
Development and Planning Committee.
And a letter from the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority regarding Brownfield Plan Number 70 at 735 Hazel Street, a transfer of ownership.
That will go to Development and Planning, and when that is taken up in Development and Planning, Councilmember Hussein, I realize there, from the letter, there doesn't appear to be action, but I would like a report out from the committee. Thank you.
And communications and petitions, an affidavit of disclosure from Thomas D. Cochran, Lansing Public Media Center Director.
And that will go to the Ethics Board.
And we are to motion of excused absence.
Do we have a motion for excused absence? Vice President Spatafor.
I move to excuse Councilmember Dunbar from tonight's meeting.
We have a motion. Questions, concerns, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
We are to remarks by council members.
Are there any remarks by council members? Vice President Spatafor.
There are no referrals and no business before the Public Service Committee for next week, so the August 6th meeting will be canceled.
All right, thank you. Are there any other questions or any other comments by council members? Just want to remind the public that the Public Safety Committee is starting on this Tuesday tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and we will be dealing with the marijuana ordinance that was referred to us from the mayor's office. We will also be taking this up on August 6th, August 13th, and August 20th. All of those meetings will be at 10 o'clock. If we need to, we will do it out here in the chambers. Otherwise, it will be in the back in the conference room. So, and this has to deal with licensing for recreational marijuana. So with that, there will also still be a regular public safety meeting on that Thursday, so on the 1st. Thank you.
We're to remarks by the executive assistant of the mayor.
Nothing? Okay.
Then we are to the public comment. We have Mary Reynolds and then Willie Williams. Willie Williams. Mary passes. Willie Williams.
Evening, everybody. Willie Williams, downtown Lansing. I want to speak to the election. There was a debate in the first ward. I have scored it, question by question, saw the whole thing, and I'd like to thank Fourth Ward Councilmember Jackson for actually showing up to a First Ward debate. That was very nice of you, showing that at least you are interested in your constituents, no matter who they might be. Jody Washington didn't show up. So we can vote against anybody that doesn't give a damn.
Please watch your language.
So, yeah, excuse me, that came out crooked. If I were if I were a playwright and I was putting together a play about the federal thing, I can talk about that before the November election and not waste a lot of my time, which I'm doing now. I need, especially for the people who did not show up to the election last time or the time before, to show up. We have to do that. We have to show up. We have to vote for these people. At large, just vote for Yanis Jackson Long. It's a lot for me to remember because I'm not good at names, but Yanis is excellent for the at-large position, as is Scott Hughes, who barely squeaked by Farhan Shikoman at the debate. Scott Hughes showed me a ton that I didn't know about him, and if I hadn't been a good run-arounder and see who's doing what, I would have missed that. So I'm really glad that debate happened, and I want you guys to get out there next week. It's a primary. The microcosm of the federal government is right here in front of me. I got people that are doing Trump lies. And a lot more will come between here and November. Believe me. Because there used to be lots of people come up and speak about the election, and lots of people to actually be there. If you want to know anything about the debate, or you want to get in touch with me, call my representative, Kathy Dunbar.
Thank you. And next we have Bob Pena.
Good evening, honorable council members. I have 3 items I'd like to address in the spirit of Thanksgiving. We do appreciate you. First, the paving that has been occurred in the neighborhood, I'd like to say thank you to the city forces which have paved Clemens Avenue from Michigan to Saginaw, 1, and from Clemens on Vine Street to Fairview. Thank you very much for that. The second is there's been a speed control device that's been placed in our neighborhood. So that's placed in the Fernwood/Fairview intersection. Thanks again for that. And as for the debate, we are of the belief that when people interact with their potential candidates, we have better selection. So we are going to extend some more opportunities for that to occur. It will occur in October for the rest of the ward members and for the candidates that are running at large, including Yanis Jackson. So just wanted to say thank you to everybody and thank you for your service. And just have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All
That was
right.
our final speaker.
All right. With that, we are adjourned.